All right, so welcome, guys. This is I love how my letter cut off. Declutter in basics for a better 2024. Little lunch and learn. And I try to keep it real flexible. I have a lot of things in the can here, so to say. But I do obviously take questions and whatnot, so we can obviously talk about areas that you guys might have specific concerns about. So I talked to Dawn a little bit, but Joan and Valerie, if you guys have specific questions, just pop them in the chat for me. And then, oops, sorry. I can try to address those as we go, or hop to a slide that has the pertinent information, or I can spitball it for sure. So this is about decluttering predominantly, reducing clutter, reducing things we don't need in our homes. And so obviously, if you have specific concerns, please let me know what those are, and I can, I'm just changing my screen. I can address those. I like to talk about decluttering and charitable downsizing in particular, how to get things into the right hands in local communities, people who need them. And then obviously reducing distraction in your home and things that pull you away from perhaps being and doing what you want to do and accomplish that year. Because sometimes there's just so much clutter, we can't even concentrate, in some homes, and certain spaces in the home tend to accumulate more than others. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I have some things about spring cleaning if people are interested, some things that are good to put on your calendar this time of year, and some things about available services and where to find them in the area, but it just in general as well, if you're not local to Michigan. Let me page down. There we go. This is my team immediately, just if people in the area are on and want to know who we are. I'm the lead. I started Clean Sweep in 2006. I have an MBA in global leadership, and I'm also an app developer and author. I've done a lot of things. Michelle is my immediate partner. We've been together probably 10 years for Love Bigger, and she is a Bronco from Western Michigan, and Renee Stewart is another lead organizer. She's just joined us this last year. She is fabulous, mom of 4, busy family, organizing, can wrangle chaos like nobody's business. So we pulled her in on the team. And I do that a lot throughout the years. I've had a lot of different organizers with the group that have come on. They teach us some things, we teach them some things, and then they hang their own shingle usually. And I send them, people call me from different areas. I send them projects to work on and consult and whatnot. So it's fun. I've sort of over the years accumulated a number of really great friends and people who do this too. I like to start with this quote when I give any of my presentations. The difference between happy people and unhappy people is their level of gratitude. When we're always seeking more in terms of material things, we tend not to be satisfied or grateful for our immediate, things that we have and that our needs are met. And I think an important thing to do when you start to organize is just roll back and think about, are my needs met? If certain needs are not getting met, where can I make adjustments and not spend money or sell things to, make sure that those needs are met? But to be grateful for all of it, because there's always a way through, there's always a way to work it out. And creativity is at its core of this whole thing. I'm not going to get into my background in too much detail, but I'm an expert relocator. So I do a lot of packing and unpacking for people, setting them up in new spaces. I make a great shower gift and wedding gift when people are going to get all those presents. They have to figure out where they go in their house. I love doing that stuff. Worked with hospitals, with senior care, all sorts of things. On the elder care end of it, so I'm used to dealing with downsizing, end of life, aging, and sandwich generation kids who have to like their leg is on 2 different boats. They've got their kids going one way and their parents going another, and they're about to fall in the water. That's where I usually catch them. So I've also done the Hoarder Show on A&E, president of NAPO Michigan, which is the Organizers Association, for a couple of years, immediate past president for 2 more. I've written the national curriculum for all the organizers nationally on managing teams, working on projects of the nature of what we do, and then staging homes as well. So I have a lot of background in general. Just quickie overview. For those of you who just joined us too, I want to make sure, and in the chat, please add if there's any particular area that you're interested in, you want to hear more about, please pop it in there, and I will try to address those as I'm going along. The C word is clutter, obviously. It's blocked energy is what it really is, but It's also, I don't like to just think of it in terms of stuff on the floor or things jammed in a storage room or whatever. It's old ideas. It can be things from toxic relationships, or people hang on to things for different reasons. Bad habits that we've gotten into. So, for example, an example of that would be you don't reset at night. You don't go through before you go to bed and clear and put things out for the morning to make your day start easier. If you don't, that's a bad habit. It's a habit of neglect, so to say, and it doesn't set you up for success. So some of those things I consider clutter too. They contribute to clutter, but they're also clutter themselves, because they're not supporting your better self. If it doesn't support your better self, your better space, better life, more energy, clarity, goals that you have, then it's clutter. Okay, so I just want everyone to think of it in a broader sense. And how do you align things? You know, being conscious is the first step. Being conscious of the fact that all day long you get bombarded with messaging about, you know, what to buy, or you'll be happy if you have this, or, you know, our phones are so targeted to us nowadays. So we just get ads of things that we might actually be interested in, but if they weren't in front of us, we wouldn't necessarily purchase that right now. So we have to become very aware. And it's a mental game all day long to not click yes or not click buy, not put it in the cart. Oh, hold on one second. I'm just adding someone in here. So that's part of the game, right? And the good news is, if you really work on your awareness and your decision making and have your overall purpose in mind when you're making those decisions, you really can start to downsize. You can start to live with less. You can start to reduce the things that you have that are in overabundance. It's a relationship. We have a relationship with our stuff. We also have a relationship with ourselves, with our family members that live in our homes. All of those things are tough. They're tough to maintain. It's a lot of strings, emotional energy on us every day. So instead of listening to the media about what happiness is, and it's not stuff, that's my number one rule. Happiness does not equal stuff. That's a false happiness. So what do we look to, and how do we make decisions? What do we hang those decisions on every day, right? So we have to figure out where our contentment comes from and adjust accordingly. That's what I say. So in order to do that, if you're really not sure, like what really makes me happy, or what would I want to see in my home? How would I want it to look? What goals do my family and I really want to have, you know, that we want to achieve this year? You got to take a minute, you know, you just got to take a time out, put it on your calendar, give yourself some space. Maybe just do some gentle breathing, close your eyes, and really just imagine it. Imagine your home the way you want it to look. And I know people think that's hooey sometimes, you know, the mindfulness piece, but it really does work. And if you don't feel as though you can do it just out of your own imagination, you can use resources like go on Pinterest, go on Houzz, go on some of the cool websites that have really cool looking houses. And just Better Homes and Gardens magazine, whatever it is, and get some thoughts, you know, ideas together. Make a little notebook, make a vision board. There's lots of ways you can do that. I don't ascribe to any particular ones, but I do think it's important before you start to just picture your ultimate goal and what sorts of freedoms that will free up for you and how much easier that'll make your life, right? Because if we start with the end in mind, you always hear that phrase, right? Start with the end in mind. You'll get there faster. You'll be more motivated, and you'll really have an idea of how to prioritize the things you're going to work on. Example, case in point, went to a house this past week, and there was this really nice gal. Her husband passed away like 4 years ago. And he was a collector of many, many things. He was an engineer, so he had a lot of equipment. He collected clocks, beautiful clocks. But she didn't know the first thing really about these things, and she was concerned about how to part with them, you know, and figure it out. But her first goal in her house was she wanted to redo her kitchen. So we sat down and we talked about that. And I said, okay, what do you want it to look like? You know, how do you want this to take shape? Is this the first thing you're going to do is the kitchen? Okay, great. So we talked about that goal, and we made a plan to go through it and clean out all the items in the kitchen and see what was left. So she would know how many drawers she would need for her silverware, how many, you know, you have to sort of map that out, right? So we looked at the end, what she wanted it to look like. We're going to work through sorting out all the items that are in there, getting rid of excess items, and then she can plan her drawer space, her cabinet space, etc., accordingly to fit the things that she prefers to have there. And that she may have stored in other areas of the house. If, when she has some better cabinets, she can move them back to a home where they're supposed to be in the kitchen and not, down the basement or wherever. So that was the goal. So now we've got that primary goal in mind and we can work through a process. So that's just an example. But if you sit down and get a little notebook, maybe even, I had this really neat little notebook that I got. It says do what you love on it, but I always find a fun one like that. And I start mapping out my ideas and put it all in one place. And that's my little project book. For each project I have one. And I think that's a great tip in terms of getting yourself started. Get a little notebook and start writing down what the goals, what your end is, what it will look like, what it will feel like, all of those things. So the goal for me and for my team, whenever we work with people, ultimately, is to help you make decisions better. There's a great definition of clutter. There's a few different definitions, but I like this one too. The physical manifestation of unmade decisions fueled by procrastination, right? So the things that are laying around, on your surfaces, whatever's laying around, you haven't made a decision where it's supposed to live, or you've procrastinated on making a place for it to live, right? So that's why it's accumulated somewhere, like that pile of mail, right? You haven't carved out the time to sit down and go through. So that's procrastination in a nutshell. So these are the things that when you hire someone like an organizer or a professional declutterer, as they're calling us now, to work with you, we help you make those decisions and figure out how to do that and create routines for yourself so it becomes easier and easier to maintain it over time. Once you decide, where the items live, it's much easier to maintain that and make those decisions quickly. When you see an item laying around, you're like, oh, this book goes in this room because, I have this bookshelf of my organizing books, for example. So that's, we help you set up yourself basically for success in the decision-making department. That's a big piece of it. And the other piece of it we start to talk about is we don't need to increase our goods as much as we need to scale down our wants, right? So not wanting something is as good as, oh, sorry about that, something popped up on the screen, as possessing it. If we want less and we have gratitude for what we do have, we have less to organize, we have less to put in boxes, to store, to get rid of later. So a lot of these things, every time you purchase something, every time you purchase anything, it has all of those other pieces to it. It's not just how many dollars you spend on it, but you're also spending your time. So for example, good example, I had a client recently, 2 years ago during COVID or right at the end of COVID, her husband bought a ginormous, it's not a golf cart, it's an ATV. It's big because he decided he thought it would be fun to drive their kids around the neighborhood in it because they had been really cooped up in their house and whatever, it would be something to do. They put 4 miles on it in 2 years. And it's ginormous and you have to clean it. It takes place of where her car would be. It's, half of the garage basically. And it has now become a place where they just put stuff. So it's actually a cabinet or a junk hauler in itself. So those things, whenever you buy them, you have to realize there's space it takes up. You have to store it. You got to clean it. You got to put gas in it if it's a vehicle like that. There's a lot more than just the original amount of money that you spend on it, right? So you got to factor that in on your purchases when you think about buying it. What do I have to do to keep it up, store it, and then eventually, how am I going to get rid of it? If you start thinking about that up front, it makes you make different decisions, or at least makes you make the decisions differently. And then, of course, never underestimate the importance of abandoning crap you don't need. That's a Joshua Becker quote, but I love that quote. So I want to mention some resources really quick. I call this Read, Watch, Listen. These are some great books. Joshua Becker has his Clutter Free with Kids books. He has Minimalist Home, The More of Less, some really great books about the rationale for owning less. And it's not what you'd think. It's not an austerity thing. Minimalism is different to everybody. But the words that he says, the way he explains it, make a lot of sense. It is a simplification of your life so that you're more focused on people, time spent, bigger goals, like maybe there's a big trip you'd rather take if you hadn't spent, you know, $20,000 last year on all the various things that you didn't need to buy because you want this trip, but you filled your time and spent money on other things. So creating your priorities. So his books and newsletters are really fabulous. Of course, I have some too, but he's really just my favorite expert lately on all things downsizing. These guys are great philosophically. If you really want to talk mindset and what's really important, the Minimalist Podcast, these guys are great. And I'm going to put this on our YouTube channel, so you don't have to take notes super fast. You can watch the replay and get all this too. So don't feel like you have to write it all down. This is another Michigan organizer who I love, Amelia Pleasant Kennedy. She was president of the association after I was. She has had this wonderful podcast for about a year. She talks about the Fair Play method, which is really fascinating, and it's how to get your whole family involved in taking care of you. And oops, hold on. Okay. I'm just going to mute a couple of people just to make sure we don't get background noise. And then talks about mental clutter too, which is the tasks that we sometimes as the mom of the house are tasked with that can be distributed, how to reduce our mental clutter, make our life calmer and more peaceful. So just know that she's a great resource as well. Love her. Oops, golly, things are jumping all over. That's Amelia. This is our community channel, Love Bigger Official on YouTube, where I will post the video. And I just posted one on organizing with kids last week. So please, you know, these are free, just avail yourself of information. And then our Instagram, I do a lot of posting on there. I talk to people a lot about experimenting with less. So does Joshua Becker, actually, but I've been doing it just in parallel to him for years. If you're not sure about getting rid of something, you don't want to give it away yet, there's such a thing as making a wait and see box or a wait and see location in the basement, where you can remove that item, take it out of your everyday space that it's cluttering, and see about how you operate without it for a period of time. You can mark on the box even, if I don't need this in 3 months on this date, I will get rid of this, right? Put it in the box, set it aside, and then see, did I really need it? Another trick you can do to subtract clothing is hang your clothing hangers backwards on the hook, right? And then if you wear the item, when you wash it and bring it back next time, flip the hanger. And anything that's on the reversed hangers after whatever period of time you designate, maybe that summer season or whatever, those items don't stay for next year because you didn't wear them. You're not going to wear them. It's been 6 months, right? So that's a great way to subtract things. There's a lot of tricks like that we use as professionals, but you can implement real easily. And then talk about these things with people that you live with. What is enough? When do I have enough clothes? When do we have enough toys? When do we have enough cars, you know, etc. And then what does abundance look like to you? What does it look like to the people in your family? Is abundance to one person could be the stuff. Abundance to another person is, do I have friends who I really care about? Do I have an abundance of time to spend the way I want to spend it? You know, so abundance is something, start to think of it in other terms and not just he who has the most toys wins, right? So, so those are conversations that are great, you know, dinner table conversations. What is enough? What is abundance? And then enroll your family. Once you have those conversations, get that consensus and see if you can enroll kids, grandkids, helping you to reduce the things. Talked a little bit about this already, physical and mental space. But the physical space really does impact your mental and spiritual space. I can't emphasize this enough. Your physical space impacts your mental and spiritual space. So if we get conscious about editing our physical space, when we get control of that environment, our stress level is going to go from here to here. Our focus is going to go from here to here. They're sort of inversely proportional, right? And so starting to notice and be conscious of those items and making decisions quicker is going to get you there. So this is some of the things that professional declutterers do. I can get into more of that later, but we can make a lot of recommendations. We know a lot of local charities that you can, you know, distribute items to, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute too. There are a lot of specialties also in the organizing realm. There's people who do just photo organizing professionally all the time. I have some wonderful organizers I work with in the state of Michigan who do archival work for families, family history, big albums, coffee table books of all of that. And they will compile, organize, and create that for you. So if you find you have a huge photo project, let me know. I have wonderful people who can help with that. People who can digitize things and or just work in your computer to get all of your files and folders organized. And I can do some of that as well. I do know some people that really specialize in that area. History Creators in Southfield is a wonderful group that does audio and video re-recording. They'll take any sort of media and convert it to digital media for you and store it and distribute it to family and friends. You know, put it in a Google Drive, etc., and you can share it, which is fabulous. There's small business specialists. There's virtual. They'll just coach you online, which I do some of. Appraisers and estate sale folks. So those of us who are sort of these hubs in this arena, we know all these people. We coordinate with all these people. So if you feel like you have an overwhelming project, have no fear. We've got your back. We've got a lot of people on and off the team. You know, they kind of pop on and off as needed. And if we don't have them as part of our team, we know who they are and we can get you there. There's a lot of great technology that's very useful that's out there. We have our charitable downsizing app that is just in Michigan now, but we are getting grants and amazing help to expand it outside of Michigan too by next year. So it's really kind of fun. But Love Bigger is an app on your phone you can download. Clutter Free is Joshua Becker's app. It actually walks you through your home. You can pick the rooms you want to work on. It gives you tasks. It sets up the whole thing for you. So if you want an app to step you through doing the actual physical decluttering, he's got one for you. It's really neat. And I have it on my phone. I got it, you know, to try it out because he and I are buds. And so I'm like, I'll get in there. I'll try it. So I've even used it. It's neat. History Creators, as I mentioned, they help with all the digitizing, all the wonderful family history. Mixed Tiles is, in fact, I'll spin my camera. I'll show you my Mixed Tiles. They're a page. See that wonderful photo montage? Those are magnetic frames. They're so cool. You can pop them on and off the wall. You can change the pictures out super easily. And so if you have places in your home you want to just, you know, create a little bit of fun memory space, Mixed Tiles is a great website. It comes in like 2 days. It's amazing. You upload your pictures and comes right to you. Archive works with kids' art projects. If you have a plethora of boxes of projects from your kids in school or grandkids, they do archival work with the kids' schoolwork. They make books. So you can make a book a year of their favorite things that they did that year. You get a box from them, you send it in, and they make the whole thing. TaskRabbit is a way to get helpers for various tasks around the house. Cozy is a family organizing app. Evernote is a digital organizing app. Scannable helps you scan things if you have a ton of paper. It's right on your phone and you can literally snap pictures and store things. And Poplin is a new thing, which is amazing. They're laundry professionals. So they will take your laundry, do it for you, and bring it back. And you don't have to, comes back fluffed and folded. So if you hate laundry, check out Poplin. It's an amazing opportunity to get some help. Here's a quick pass through my 10 steps that I use to help people get more organized. Do your visioning. Make a plan about what you want to see, what your end, begin with the end in mind, what that is. Find the vibe, I call it, determining how you want a space to feel. So sit down in your living room, in your family room, in that kid's playroom and think, what do I want this to feel like? I don't want it to feel cluttered like this. What do I, where do I want them to be? Should they be able to reach everything? Should it be easy? Should I make a cozy little corner here with some place so they can sit and read books? Or should I put a chair here by this window so I can sit and read my books? Figure out how you want the space to feel. Set goals about it with your notebook. Purge first, meaning declutter and remove the items first, like as I mentioned with that kitchen, with my client. Go through and purge out all the things you really don't want in the space before you make any other decisions about it. So don't go buying a tray or in one of your drawers to hold a whole bunch of stuff if you haven't cleaned out the stuff yet. Clean the stuff out first, put it into categories, and then determine how you want to store it. and if that's even the right place to store it. So you got to purge first and remove the distractions and then sort it. So Joshua Becker has a really great, in his decluttering technique, the first thing he says to do, and I do this sometimes with my new clients, it depends on their frame of mind. I'll just come in with a bag or a box and I'll say, let's take a pass through here and I'm going to remove a few things today that you are confident you do not need. We'll put trash in there. We'll put, whatever items in the space are just unnecessary, and we've removed them. So it's just a quick pass through, but I'll tell you what, just even that little bit of breathing room, it really gives you some motivation and it kickstarts you. So do that quick pass technique, and just take those distractions out. And also, if it's something that needs to be in a different room, put it in the other room, like at least get that room simplified. And then once you sort everything out, this is always interesting. The funniest thing for an organizer is I almost play this game with people now. I say, I want to find every roll of Scotch tape in your house, because it's amazing how many, or every pair of reading glasses in your house. I have one household that I just did to prep them for a move, for selling their house. And I have a banker's box, those white banker's boxes. It's completely filled with reading glasses. They had that many pairs in their house. So when I say sort it out, find them all. Like, it's a great game with kids. We're going to do a scavenger hunt and find every Lego in this house. Go find them all, put them here. So it really does help, because then you know how much space that particular category of item is going to take up for you. And if it's too much, then you've got to cut it down. So sorting is really important. And then I always tell people, reduce it again by half, because usually you can take another 50% out and you're still going to be functional. So if you had 20 rolls of Scotch tape, take it down to 10, or use it down to 10 in the immediate future and donate the rest. Don't, continue to stockpile, because that doesn't do you any favors. With paper, I recommend scanning, shredding, digitizing. We can help with that if that's the bane of your existence. If you absolutely hate paper, have someone help you. I go to a number of the homes that I work with every month or every other month, and I open their mail, I pay all their bills for them, and I file all the remaining papers that they haven't put on virtual yet. I do that for a number of clients. It's just something most people hate to do, and you can hire someone to do that. Case in point. Optimizing your space. Only put the things on your counters, or leave things on your counters that you absolutely have to. Try to make a home below decks for as much as you can. And I'll tell you what, you'll notice an immediate difference. It will feel so much lighter in the space. It will feel much calmer in the space when there's less clutter, visual clutter. But don't buy more containers. Use the stuff you have. I'm really not a big advocate of adding more containers. I'd rather empty some out and combine things together and reduce it into the ones I have. There's just those things, first of all, never biodegrade. That's my first negative about them, but also a lot of times people just buy more containers to hold more stuff, and they know, just because they don't want to make the decision to get rid of the stuff, right? And so you got to make the decisions first. And then if it's a permanent fixture and it's going to stay, then yes, you can get a container. And then just be mindful about your budget. Is my number 10. Reduce your budget as much as you can. Focus on your goals. Go into stores with a list and don't deviate from the list. And if you buy something new, something old must go. That's kind of some of the little mindfulness tricks in terms of spending money. Consider the need to start this year with a clean slate, right? Don't beat up on yourself, but it's a new year. We're still early on in the year. Took you a long time to get where you are with the clutter. It might take a little while to work your way out. Hire someone if you need to do it faster, but just determine you're going to start today and keep moving. Now, the way to take action is do that quick sweep that we talked about. That's the first step. And then pick a room in your house that is the most active room that you spend the most time in that has a clutter problem. Because that is where you're going to really see progress. And it's very motivating if you do those spaces that you spend the most time in first. So if it's stressful for you to enter, that means it needs some work. And I tell people that have Tigger on here, because I don't want you to bounce from room to room to room. Don't be a Tigger. Start in one room and start on one side of one room. I usually work it like a clock. I start to my left and I work my way around the room. That way too, if you only have a few minutes to work on it, you know exactly where you left off. So that's one of my big tips about that. And we can talk about more of that. This was a little bit from my organizing with kids talk, just in case you do have kids in your home. There's a class on our channel. But some of the things to really work on with kids is because they're so bombarded right now, God bless them, with everything that comes at them in their phone all day on TikTok, every new gadget, every new, thing kids have, other people have. Fancy possessions or tons of possessions and personal character are completely unrelated. So you got to really focus with your family members, your younger members of the household, on character, on finding joy in little things, not in the next newest bright, shiny object. And really talk about that and talk about people and time. So that's one of the things I really like to mention to people and to have that be a focus. I have some households that I work with for a number of years, and I'll tell you the difference it's made for those kids. I will tell you that they are the best closet purgers I've ever seen. I just was at one of the houses this week. Those kids both go in their closet. They know how to size everything in their closet. They know season. They know whether they're going to wear it or not, if they've grown out of it. They help me get things ready for resale versus donating. I've got these kids so trained, and they know they're not attached. They're not attached to the things, because we've talked about their character for so long and what their goals are. And if it's not something that's going to serve them, they know how to let go. So this is something you can teach your kids. Also, just some routine things for all of us, not just kids. But if you clean up every night and do your evening reset, first of all, kids quickly learn that if the fewer toys they have, they don't have as many chores to do at night to clean it all up. Or they realize that if they put it away when they've played with it during the day, then at nighttime, they don't have to backpedal and put it, right? So you can either pick up immediately throughout the day, or you can do that evening clearing and cleanse and prep for the next day. But it really makes a huge difference building that into your kids' routine or even into your own. This is a tip for both the adults and the kids. And living with fewer things also means there's a budget for fun things like trips and experiences and amazing. Maybe there's just like my daughter, it was always cameras. She wanted a newer, bigger lens. She liked to do nature photography. That was her thing. So we would say, okay, if you work and earn half and we don't do this and this, we can set that money that was designated for this aside for it. And that'll get you, we'll get to the goal faster, but you have to understand that sacrifice, right? The value of the money and the time. So those are great ways to work with kids to show them value of things like that. Now I'm locked up. Let me try to get my computer to go down. There we go. Spring cleaning. Just a couple quick tips for spring cleaning this year. Again, use your quick pass through this space if you haven't done that. Take out the visual clutter items, things that are just bugging you because there's too many things on the surfaces. Take an inventory of your household cleaning products. For this time of year, it's a great time to go through and try to find some chemical-free replacements. Because a lot of the things we have in our homes are real toxic. And I will tell you that as a holistic, I'm kind of a fruits and nutsy girl myself, but as a holistic practitioner, my sister is a naturopathic doctor, and she can't get over the amount of metal toxicity that she sees, the amount of allergic sensitivities that she sees, just all of that inflammation. A lot of that's caused by a lot of these toxic chemicals in your home. So consider this year taking an inventory of all your cleaning materials and properly disposing of the things that are hazardous or that really aren't good for you, and finding some replacements that are chemical free, that are a little bit more natural. There's a lot of options out there. Change your baking soda box in your fridge, right? So you freshen up your fridge. This is a great, I'll show you my little Queen of Clean book. I love her. This book's been out forever. It was a New York Times bestseller for a long time, The Queen of Clean. She has these great seasonal tips in this book. This is one of my favorite handbooks for people for knowing what to clean up when and to create some good habits for yourself on that. So she says, put some music on, let her rip, get out there, and for springtime, she really talks about, just dusting everything because you've been cooped up all winter, right? Open the windows, dust everything. You do the top areas first and then do your floors, wipe down cabinets, put a couple lemons down the disposal, freshen up some of those areas, vacuum your mattresses, and flip them and do the mattress pads, vacuum draperies and clean off, like if you're, I know I need to do my blinds in my house. I'm embarrassed to show you the ones right here, but they're super dusty. So great thing for spring, as soon as you can open those windows and blinds and draperies, wipe out the cobwebs from your light fixtures, that kind of thing. So that's just a little refresh, but the Queen of Clean has some great other suggestions. I think she's got it on her website too. Important to, when you downsize and you reduce these items out of your home, figuring out when it makes sense to sell. Right now, most antiques, there's really not a market for. But with furniture items and large items that can go to landfill, there's a huge concern in the state of Michigan and otherwise. They've got tremendous initiatives right now not to have them go to landfills and have them go to at least a donation center where they can serve underserved communities or people who may be coming out of drug and alcohol rehab, for example, with Grace Centers of Hope here, or other ones like that. So obviously, you have to be concerned with what is safe and what is prudent in terms of selling things as well right now. There's a lot of fraud. I sell a lot of things for clients, but I will tell you there's been a number of fraud attempts to me selling things even on Facebook Marketplace. So if you do sell things online, be extremely careful. Go back to the person's profile who is looking at that object. Make sure it's not a brand new profile. Make sure it's not a fake name. Make sure maybe they have friends in your community who you already know. If that's the case, you're going to be a little bit safer. And do your pickups and drop-offs at your local police station or a place where there are public cameras. Most police stations, at least in Michigan now, have a drop-off area right in the front. It's sometimes used for kids with parents who share custody, things like that, but they've got cameras and it is a safe and secure drop-off location. And you can also use an estate sale, garage sale, etc. With estate sales nowadays, there have been a lot of changes. I'll bring you up to speed on that just briefly. They prefer for the person, let's say you're downsizing into a little apartment, you're later on in life and you just really want to simplify. When you do that, and we're happy to help with that too, and you do decide to have an estate sale, most of the estate sale companies will have a minimum of what they expect to make on that job now, because there's just so many of them going on. So you have to leave them enough value for them to want to do the sale, number one. Number two, is you should plan to be completely out of the residence when the sale takes place. So you want to pack your things that are important to you and move them to your new destination. And before you have a closing date, you can have the sale in between when you move out and when whoever the new person is moves in. And then you have a clean out or a really nice sustainable clean out company, for example, is Junk Luggers of Michigan. They are fabulous. They will take all of the items and they triage them. So if it can be donated, they'll take it to donate. If it can be sold, now as of February, Junk Luggers actually has a warehouse where they take the items and they sell the items online and their proceeds go to charity, or at least a percentage. But it's a wonderful way to just have them come take it all, get it off your hands, and they will make sure it goes into the right hands because they are on a sustainability mission too. So it could make your life very, very easy in that downsizing process if you just remove yourself and then leave the rest to either the estate sale company and then clean out, or just use Junk Luggers, have them sell the items for charity and provide that to a local charity organization, and you can designate that. And then there's a lot of buy nothing groups as well online, which are also good because you can help out a younger family or a young mom or single parents. There's a lot of them on there on buy nothing looking for just, their immediate needs. So that's also a great way to do it. It's just, again, the safety factor. Go meet them someplace with it or take someone with you. We do things, our professional declutterers, this is kind of things we do. We'll do a home wellness visit, meaning we'll come through and do resets. We organize, declutter, create systems. Like if you're looking at getting a maid service, for example, we come in, we make homes for everything and declutter everything with you. And then you bring the cleaning service in and they maintain it every week. But if you don't make homes for things, and some of you may have encountered this, they will just scoop everything off the counter into a drawer and then they clean. Meanwhile, you're left with a pile of stuff that you don't even know where it goes, right? So we set you up for success with those cleaning services. We build the homes, we'll put labels on things, we'll set it all up, and then for them to maintain it, it's a piece of cake and your stuff goes back into the right places. So just know like those systems can be important. And we're happy to help get that set up so you can bring in the regular monthly or, bi-monthly cleaners or whatever. And we can help you do, specific plan about that. So that's our website for Clean Sweep Consulting. That's our organizing site with me and the gals. And then this is the app that I was talking about earlier. It's a charitable downsizing app. So it's a safe marketplace. We vet these charities like you wouldn't believe. We put them through layers and layers of, we go through their taxes, everything else. So if one of the charities is on here, we have checked them out. We make them commit to not charge you to pick up or, items from your home, unless you've obviously discussed it in advance. And so they can send, a safe resource to come and get it if it's a furniture piece or something you want to donate. So I started building this during COVID and we just launched it in November, but the purpose of it is for charities to post things that they're in need of. And then you can look and say, oh, well, wait, I've got that. And you can reach out to them and coordinate getting it to them. So it helps you downsize and feel good about it. And then downsizing doesn't have to be a downer, right? Because you're at least finding some really good options for where the stuff can go. Feel really good about it. I did a home show, the Novi home show recently. So that's just in there from that. If you have questions, this is my direct cell phone number. Or there's a contact form on our cleansweepconsulting.net page. And you can fill that out with any specific organizing questions, or if you need me to send someone or you need me to come, that's where you would apply. And then, or you can text me or call me to set it up. We don't charge to come out for a consultation visit. We're primarily in Oakland County, although we do bleed over into Macomb and Wayne, or if somebody's moving, we'll finish the job or find a partner to do that. If you're outside of our purview, but having led the state for a couple of years, I know all the good ones. So I'm happy to, do my part and pass it along depending on where you're going, that kind of thing. But just know that's how you reach us. And let me get off my screen share. So that is a little bit of everything, but I wanted to just roll through, and then I figured I would take questions at this point and see like what I can help you with. Dawn was talking to me a little bit about, they've got basement storage questions, because their kids are back from college. So we talked a little bit about that, but part of it is working with the kids to purge out things maybe they've brought home that they don't need, or maybe they've left it with you and they've taken off, right? And you just got all their stuff in your storage, which happens a lot. So it's making a couple phone calls. Do you still want this? I will ship it to you, or I can get rid of it responsibly. But you need to give me an answer, getting the decision-making rolling, right? Blame it on me. You can say, oh, I had Jen come over and she said, we need to make some decisions here. We need to get this stuff going. So she needs to know what's your decision, right? So that's a great way to get things moving. You guys can put in the chat anything else you might want to ask about. But basements are real fun. I like doing them actually, because I find a lot of people will put things away, but they don't put them into shelving or put them where they use their vertical space in basement areas. And it can be very helpful to get, like at Home Depot or Costco, or they have really nice metal adjustable shelving units. And so that way you can stack the bins in and you don't have to lift everything off to get to the things at the bottom, right? So it's really useful, even though it's kind of a pain, but you can hire us to just come set up shelving. There's another great guy called You Buy, We Build. And he and his wife started a business just to put things together for people. And he's all over the Detroit metro area. So if you just need something assembled like that or some shelving put in, give him a call. It's youbuywebuild.com. But they're great. What charities, the question is, can you suggest for decorative items? Decorative items, Grace Centers of Hope will predominantly take. They have thrift stores that benefit their drug and alcohol rehabilitation program. And so if they can't use them in one of the 50 apartments and homes they have in Pontiac for people coming out of the program, and then they take the stuff with them, they'll put them into the store. So they have a number of locations around Detroit, so that's a good one. The other place is the Habitat for Humanity Restore. The Restore is fabulous for, you wouldn't believe the one, if you're anywhere near the Waterford store, they have brand new fixtures, all kinds of things in there. Household items, pots, pans, you name it, decorative items. So they're a good one also to take things to, but also to shop. It's amazing. And it's interesting, there's a lot of studies coming out now that this younger generation is thrift shopping because they're sustainability conscious. So a lot of the kids will go and find, you know, an old dresser, and then they'll paint it. They'll go on their TikTok and get their videos, and they'll repaint it and reuse it. So there's a lot of things that you wouldn't think, but they're getting reused, and it's really helping. That circular economy is important, reusing what we can, right? What is the range to budget for a basement project? Well, it's going to vary depending on the size of your project. And if you want to work on it versus you want to have somebody have it done for you, right? And if you have to bring in heavy lifters, if it's really big, heavy items, etc. But if it's something that, you know, a couple of gals can handle on a day, then it's just a lot of organizers will either work on an hourly rate, which is what we do, or they will work on a project rate. So they'll just package the project once they get an eyeball on it. Most of us sort of know, you know, what it'll be by looking at it, but sometimes we can get into a real rat's nest. So, you know, or the person starts working on it and then they bail because they're just like, I can't do this, you know, you just take care of it. So that's why I lean on it for those kind of projects at more of an hourly rate. Hourly rates for organizers can range anywhere from, I mean, the beginners usually charge around 40 to 45 an hour. People who have done it a long time, such as myself, we go anywhere from 65. Some of them are 100 and 125. They can go up significantly. I keep mine more middle of the range just because I like the work. I like to go do physical stuff. It's the Italian in me, the paisan that likes to stomp grapes with their feet. You know, I got it from the old country, I think, but I like the physical work. So I don't price myself out of completing a project, right? The other thing that's useful to know is, like with our company, we do not charge to deliver items to charity. If it fits in our vehicle and we can take it with us, we will go take it and drop it off for you and get you a receipt. We do not charge for that. So baked into our rate is a lot of that running around and doing that work too, but we don't charge separate for that. So that's another thing. Anyone else? Let's see. Decorative items. Oh, do I take a percentage of selling the items? I try not to get too enmeshed in selling the items. I recommend to people a lot, if you've got a grandkid and they want to make some side hustle money, have them help you, because they'll, you know, that's better than an allowance if they can get 20% and they have to calculate the percentage of whatever they get for something, right? Those books, there's some really good, you know, online book selling. I gotta look up the name of that app. One sec. I'm gonna look here. Oh, Book Scouter is a great app. Bookscouter.com is the website. You can scan those books in. They will tell you, they scan all the websites online, all the online booksellers. They find the best price and they tell you which one. And then they help you hop over there, print a label, and ship the books back and get a check. It's super easy for kids. They're on these apps all day long. It's super easy for kids to put that together and print a label and send something. So if you've got a kid or a grandkid, involve them, let them help you. Now we can do that as well, but to pay us our hourly rate to do that, you're losing money, right? So that's why I say, you know, it's not really worth, you know, your time to have us do it. Yes, if I sell something like large and whatever, and it's worth it, we can talk about a split. I don't really do a lot of it. I try to find a resource for it. All right, any other questions, guys? I am happy to, you name it, I will answer it today. I got all kinds of knowledge up here. Scary. All right. Any other topics you want me to riff on for a minute? I can do that as well. Oh, sure, Valerie, you're welcome. Some of the other things that could be useful this time of year, if you are limited for closet space, this just comes to mind. For example, your master closet's a little bit jammed up because you've had all your winter woolies in there, right? One of the things you can do to help reduce your closet crunch is to remove the seasonal items that are in the off season right now. So if you've got spring is coming, you can do your spring change out and take some of those winter clothes, move them to a different location, move them to a guest room closet, etc. So that when you go to look for an outfit that day, you are not so jammed up with things that aren't even in the right season, right? So I do that with my closet. I have a guest room down the hall because my stepson is finishing up college and then he's moving to Indianapolis. So I had got his room. So I use that for my winter. And then I use my other closet for my summer. Really helpful. Garage is a total mess. I don't know where to start. Okay. Garages can be tricky because the weather's cold right now here. I don't know if where you are, Joan, it's warmer, but I recommend getting some helpers, pulling everything out, or at least putting it in the middle of the garage. So get the cars out of the way. Pull everything off the shelves, take a leaf blower or wipe everything down, get it clean. Because garages can get really dirty throughout the winter to the exhaust from the cars. It just coats everything. So you want to just try to wipe everything down a little bit when you do it. And then if you have already existing shelving, you can go in and designate, okay, that's my amount of space I have for my extra car cleaning stuff. It's going to go in that cubby. This cubby is going to be for my kids' outside toys or my gardening supplies. Try to designate a space constraint and then select the items that you prefer to have in that space. And once you run out of room, those other items are going to go, right? So the space, you work to the space in a garage. It really does help. But if you want to do shelving and bins, you can obviously either have some delivered or find a resource to help get those in there, but you have to take everything out in order to accomplish that. We can set up racking for you and do some plastic totes or bins if we need to. Garage is one area that I do say don't store things in paper, cardboard, or whatever, because you can get earwigs, bugs. They love that, and mice and things in the winter will chew their way right into a cardboard box. So you're much better off with a box that seals, one of the lids that seals really well, so you don't end up with little friends you didn't want in your garage. So that's just a couple things about that. Oh, hi, Colleen, fellow professional organizer from Minnesota. Do I have any certifications or classes I recommend? Yes, NAPO has a number of certifications. Their residential certification is excellent. It's a basic curriculum for any organizer. Joshua Becker is currently certifying with his minimalism method, which I'm getting his certification, he just started it. But I love his method. It's very simple, but it's very thoughtful. And so he is certifying people in the Becker method of decluttering. So that's a good method. And then there is a really great method for working with parents with kids called the Fair Play method, which is what Amelia is participating in. And you can reach out to her if you look up her podcast. But she, and there's also a show on Netflix about the Fair Play method, which you can look up. You can probably Google it. And that is about helping task sharing within the home with all the people who inhabit in the home and how to have it be fair between everyone residing there. So that's a really good one just to learn more about. And I think Fair Play has a certification as well, because I think Amelia has gotten that one. So those are some of the best ones. But you're going to NAPO in April. That's great. KonMari is good. You mentioned that. That's the Marie Kondo method. I'm well studied in it. I like it for some people, but for other people, it's a select audience. So it's a good tool, but I don't know if it's like, if you want an overall credibility tool, to me personally, that's not your tool. But good to know, like it might work with some of your client base. I've used some of the techniques here and there. Oh, the garage is so full, can't get the car in there. Yeah, I know. I've been in a lot of houses like that because the garage is your storage unit, right? And that's okay. But it really helps to make some decisions, go through it and try to get your bins at least up onto shelves in there and use your vertical space. Also in garages, there's some really cool pulley systems that you can have a handyman put in this pulley with it's got like a metal rack. It lowers down. You can put your tubs on it and it's a really easy pulley. You can pop everything up above the front of your car so you can get your car back in. I think Garage Works has it. I think they have them at Container Store, et cetera. So, I mean, I usually find them online, or there's a couple vendors I've worked with for those, but they're very helpful if you just want to use your vertical space. Same thing with bicycles. There's pulleys you can pop up there. We put our kayaks and our bikes up on pulleys because we're big outdoorsy people. We're campers around here. So, I'm gonna turn off my recording at this point. I got more than I need on there. And yeah, I think we got it. Okay. Anything else? Any other great? Oh, thanks, Joan. Really happy to help anytime. Call me or text me. How much time in advance of moving do you recommend working with seniors to downsize? Yes, it's interesting. A lot of times we hear from clients who are the planners, the people who are the plan ahead people. We hear from them before the realtors do, because they call us in to say, I'm going to be moving next year. I know I need to downsize soon here, and I want to work through this, right? So we create a process. And then there's some realtors who get the home, they want to list it, but it has way too much in it to be able to list it, right? So we get called in. It varies. The more time we have, the better, because obviously we can be more charitable, more sustainable. We can have a little more fun with how we dispose of the things in the home, right? Where they go, if we have a little more time to research and plan out where it's going to go and get it picked up. So if it's an older adult that's been in the house for like 30 years, I would recommend trying to get 3 to 6 months ahead of time, so that you're not ripping the things away from the individual, but you're doing some really wonderful stewardship, spending some stewardship time, right? And mapping out their new spot, knowing what furnishings they need and don't need, and being able to take the other ones and get them someplace that feels really good to let go of them, right? If you're in a rush, a lot of times what happens is we end up with that cleanup crew, and junk luggers is great. I love them because, again, they'll try to get things to charity as much as possible, but there's no guarantees there. If you really want to have the control of the situation, give yourself 3 to 6 months. I've gone as long as a year to a year and a half on one particular hoarding case, because the house, it was in Troy over here, it was so full. It took us a year and 3 different estate sales to get it cleared. It was waist high when we went in, and it was a 4,000 to 5,000 square foot house. And we worked through it with her. She was super happy. We used pods, and we moved things down to her new place in Ohio with using pods. We, prioritized and did that. So, there's ways to do it. You just gotta, map it out with the timeline that you have. Yeah. Oh, sure, for sure. We'll connect offline for sure. Please feel free. I don't charge for consultation calls. I don't charge for the initial consultation visits when I go out. So if you're in my area, I'm happy to come at least just give you some recommendations. I do not charge for that. That is just a handy helper kind of thing. Yeah. All right, Don. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, well, guys, are there any more questions at all? And if not, please don't hesitate to reach out and give me a shout. Or we'll have this video posted. I'll get it downloaded and re-uploaded hopefully by tomorrow, if not over the weekend. So it'll be here for you at any point. I won't take it down. So you can review it, share it with a friend, etc. Oh, great. Thanks, Colleen. I love chatting with you. Please, don't hesitate to reach out, and hopefully we'll see y'all soon, and I have a real organized 2024. But I'll do this again in March. I haven't selected my date yet. Probably the 3rd week in March we'll have another. So I'll try to pick some other specific topics as we head into the summer. All right, great. See you guys, and talk to you soon. Bye.